What is going on, you guys? It's your boy, the Meat Gazer Hater, here, and we're back. It's episode 6 now. Kind of getting into a groove. I'm enjoying doing these, but the quality of which could wane a good amount between episodes, which is one concern of mine. I suppose I've always had some extent or some amount of just kind of performance anxiety. I think it results from like school. I don't use anxiety in the term that's like, oh my god, don't come near me, I'm anxious type of thing. Where it's just like, you get nervous and you're worried and you like procrastinate because you understand you're capable of a certain benchmark of quality, and then the expectation to live up to that is something that makes you not want to do it unless you're going to do a good job. I think that's just also like a perfectionist type thing where it's, if you're capable of doing a really, really good job with something, it's harder for you to just do a shit job, right? So in a lot of ways, I envy people. It's gonna sound funny. And I envy people that do shit work because they can get more done because it's just, it's good enough. I'm just gonna send it. It's a C+ effort. I'll just send it. And some of that comes down to like saying no, but like part of that I think is also just being okay with just your name attached to something kind of shitty. Which I think is actually an important thing to do. It's not, like, I think I'd be a liar if I stood here and said, oh, all your work should be A+ effort. No, like, there's a good amount of things that should honestly be B+, C+ level work, maybe. I wouldn't ever recommend, if you're going to do an F, you might as well not do it. But I don't think if it's, depending on what the thing is, again, I'm being very vague here. Depending on what the thing is, sometimes, all you need is a C. And not in school. I mean, I'm talking about in any context. It could be a work, social, a context like this even, like making these YouTube videos, right? I put the grading of a lot of my videos at a C or below. I think because that's part of what this is for me. It's just an exercise to be okay with not doing an superb, excellent job. I'm not going to win an Academy Award for, I don't even know what the awards are, but I'm not going to win some film award for these shittily improvised hour-long videos of me playing Minecraft, right? Like, the point of it isn't to win a film festival. And it's good. So, oh my god, I forgot they did the waterlogging thing. That's kind of obnoxious. But yeah, no, I getting more comfortable doing shitty work, which sounds funny. Most people probably need to go in the opposite direction, put more effort into their things, and prove to themselves that they're capable of A-level work. And I don't know, maybe I'm in that category too. It's all relative. There's not really any absolutes to any of it anyway. So, what's the use in talking about it? Other than it gives me something to talk about. There was a brief period of time today where I was in an optimistic mood, which to me isn't. It isn't like I'm never in like a very good mood, but generally my neutral mood is analytical. I'd say it's generally my positive mood is just kind of being regularly analytical and not cynical. Certainly a difference there. Not one that I could articulate very well, but there is one. So just bear with me with that. But today, for some reason, I was in a particularly good mood. I remember I was just walking down the side of the road, just like thinking about something funny. I don't quite remember what it was, but just kind of laughing to myself, which, again, I don't really do that often, especially like walking down the road. That's one of my strategies. It's like I said, I live in New York City, so there's always the looming threat of getting mugged by somebody. Not in broad daylight most of the time, but my main strategy to get around that is just look like an angry motherfucker or somebody who's crazy. You know, generally if you're gonna rob somebody and somebody's over there like twitching, you know, with this like dead, cold, lifeless look on their face, they're probably not gonna, you know, mess with you. They're gonna go for the people who look wide-eyed, innocent, and rich. And I'm gonna look poor, focused, and you know, not mentally stable, so that they, you know, assume I'm more trouble than I'm worth. Granted, I mean, even just with my physical profile, I don't have a high likelihood of getting robbed, but anything's possible in certain parts of the city. So anyway, that's generally what I generally have, this big frown on my face, walking around quickly and angrily. But I was instead just kind of laughing and smiling to myself, which I was an easier target, I guess, to, you know, so the muggers missed their opportunity to mug me while I was in a cheery mood. But you know, as things do, it faded pretty quickly. I then got to work on a homework assignment, and that was all gone. And now I'm back to my regular attitude, which again, I don't really know. I'm probably not great at describing that. Anyway, but yeah, I thought, you know, it'd be nice today to instead try to bring in some hope into the mix, right? So what, from my perspective, not that anyone really values that much, but if you're listening to this, I mean, to some extent, you're, you know, unless you're listening only to disagree with me, but to some extent, you at least want to hear, you'd be interested in hearing what I have to say. So what am I optimistic about? What do I see good in, right? What gives me hope? And I would, you know, you'd be right in thinking that the list is a little shorter than what is cause for concern. But I think that's generally a good thing. Evolutionarily, that's a good thing. Society, that's a good thing, because you want to be pushing forward. And if you're so busy relishing on how great the past is and this and that and the other, or how great this or that is, you're not really looking to improve anything, right? Which is one way to look at things, but I think in terms of making an impact, you have to be looking at the negative for a certain amount of your attention. A certain amount of your attention needs to be dedicated towards what could be better instead of what's great. But anyway, today I want to talk about some good things, right? So what's optimistic? Some of these are technology enabled, others aren't. I think that's just, again, some of them are technology. We live in a technology world, and I'm a technology person, so I think it's natural for me to be, for my head to have gone there first in terms of what I came up with. But my first thing is this is kind of a tough one to reason to myself if have my cynic goggles on, but the potential for creative expression, I think, is at an all-time high and is only going to get higher. I think with the many different methods of creating any kind of content, the potential for creative expression is at an all-time high. So just to give an example, to put it in more context, because by itself that means nothing, or it's harder to draw meaning from that by itself. So you know, back in the olden days, you know, if you're gonna, you know, art was really what was your creative expression, and art was really limited to, you know, quill on paper, pencil on paper, or watercolors, or some painting, or some variety of that, right? And there was, you know, sculpture making, and generally all these had pretty high barriers to entry, right? You know, if you were some poor leather worker, what's the likelihood you can get your hands on a nice stencil book or a canvas to paint on, and all this equipment? Like, pretty, you know, odds are you're not getting any of that, right? But conversely, today, as long as you have an internet connection and some kind of device, you know, obviously preferably some kind of production equipment, so that's a laptop, desktop computer, instead of like a consumption equipment, which is like a tablet. Although you can still do anything on a tablet or phone, really. It's just not nearly as functional. But the barrier to entry to any kind of art production or creation is little to nothing, right? So this could be graphics, videos, digital art. My mind immediately went to video games, right? Like imagine how much more in depth. So let's say you have you have a vision for something, right? A vision for a world that you're living in, or some video game that has, again, some kind of three-dimensional vision. Because generally you live in 3 dimensions, you dream in 3 dimensions, you think in 3 dimensions. You don't really think in 2-dimensional space for the most part, even though technically your vision is 2-dimensional and everything you're looking at is 2-dimensional. I'm not gonna get into that anyway. But the ability to render, and create 3D environments with such accuracy and limitless, much less. God damn it! Don't kill him. Much less restriction is much higher than it's ever been, I think. So you can create a video game that's full of your. Now, obviously, you have to figure out how to make it and whatnot, but I think the potential for the barrier to entry to that is relatively low, which I think is a big thing that is beneficial. Now, granted, I think the cynical aspect of that is how many people are taking advantage of that, right? And really using it, is creativity going up or is it going down, right? And I don't know. That's probably a good question to some extent. But I think the potential is certainly a lot higher. Yeah, and on that same note, I don't even know what I'm doing in the world right now. I'm just kind of running around here. On that same note, the ubiquity of access to your favorite material, digital material, again, since my mind went to technology, is easy. So like where you used to have to listen to the radio, right? And whatever came on the radio is what you listened to, or much less you even had access to a radio. I mean, now we take that for granted, obviously, but it's I can listen to my favorite song for a gajillion times. No, there's nothing stopping me. I don't have to call into the radio station and beg them to play a song. So there's that benefit of it. And I think on the same note, that what I was thinking when I sort of jotted this down was even the production of that. At one point we were limited to instruments. Like you had to go buy a guitar and learn how to sing, and then have recording equipment or something to be able to record and hear yourself sing and play. Now that's all virtualized, right? You can. All the songs I've made on this stupid channel, none of those use any actual instruments, at all. It's all digital, right? And the ability to me to produce, regardless of what your opinions are on the musical quality of the piece or the creative appeal, it cost me nothing to make, which I think is an amazing thing and something to celebrate on a very basic level, at least. So that's something that's great. I also think that as much as I want to harp on consumption and how it's kind of melting our brains and this and that and whatever, I could go on and on about the negatives here with regards to consumption. There are truly, since now that everyone has access, there's some. Every once in a while, you just hit a gem, right? Of a piece of content. It's just brilliant, right? And I wish I had a better example or a couple examples, but I'm sure your head was somewhere when I said that. Was there just some piece of content, maybe 98% of what you see is complete garbage, but then you see this absolute masterpiece. Whether it's funny or just creative or just impressive, whatever it is. To some point, there's an instant where it justifies the 98% of garbage. And to me, that is really nice, because I think that was something that wasn't really accessible before the internet age. And again, there's always a brief period in time where that gem is worth 98% of garbage. But I think as a societal impact, it's probably not. But boy, is it good when you find something that is just an absolute gem, right? And again, I wish I had some good examples, but every once in a while there's just a piece of material that you're just so glad the internet exists so that you can witness it. Sometimes it's a meme, sometimes it's a song or a video or a movie for some people, whatever it is. Sometimes it's just freaking awesome and something that is worthy of celebrating. So I think that's another good thing. Obviously, I can't talk about great things going on without mentioning the game that I'm playing. I think this is something I should have talked about earlier, but I obviously have a certain affinity for Minecraft just as a game. And I honestly didn't, I probably should have, but I didn't organize my thoughts on why I think it's such a masterpiece of a game, and why I've been able to sink such a ridiculous amount of time into a game just throughout my life. And I don't regret any of it, right? It's not, I certainly don't wish it didn't exist by any means, but you know, this in itself is to me the essence of the brilliant positive impacts of technology. And then maybe I could have been doing something more productive from a societal lens, or feeding the homeless instead of playing Minecraft. But I think that's not the point. The point isn't to go to the nth degree on everything, on whatever you've decided your purpose is. To a certain extent, you have to enjoy what exists and what's here, right? And for me, that's Minecraft. It's a masterpiece of a game. I could say kind of the classic. Oh, it's I get to pure creative, expressive ability, right? I can make whatever I want. There's no one here. Oh Jesus, what? Oh, there's also just like, and yeah, I don't disagree with that sentiment. I think that's part of the reason it's great, is because there's, things like I can't make a reality in the physical world I'm in. It's quite literally I can try to make it here, right? And it's not like, would my house look like this if it's the real world? I mean, some people do that. They build their house, and I always thought if I was able to build my dream house, I would first do it in Minecraft, because that'd be fun. But there's a certain tranquility in the just the visual appeal of the game. So I mean that's part of it. Most other games just are like visually taxing to me. I can only look at them for so long, but I seem to have an endless appetite for the visuals of Minecraft. Like the pixels just don't burn holes into my retinas the same way that other games do. Which is nice. And I mean, I honestly, like, as much as I can make fun of the whole free, true, expressive amount of creativity that the game allows for, that's a pretty big piece of it. And I'm sure I'll think of something that's more thought-provoking later when I'm not recording, but that's a big part of it. It's and I mean, it's also the fact that it does really piss me off that a lot of games, again, I don't really play that many other games just because I found what I like, so there's not too much of a need to shop around that much. But every other game is so focused on the monetization, and I realize that Mojang was acquired by Microsoft, so at some point, to some extent, if you go to like the marketplaces and the Bedrock version, they're monetizing the ever-loving shit out of the game and selling skin packs and worlds to people. But the one-time purchase thing, you know, and the fact that it's an offline game, so I could feasibly not have internet and play, and it's not gonna cripple anything, right? Like that's such a, like that's what I like that, right? I don't have to be online. I don't have to connect to servers. I'm not gonna get kicked out because of a server thing. And I can log into the game and not have to see an ad for a new skin pack, or there's updates for the game, but you could also just not update the game. Like there's people that still play like a Minecraft like 1.8, like the freaking beta version, right? So like the fact that there's not, you can do that, right? There's no real restriction on that is fantastic. And to me, it also just encompasses so many other things that other games try to do in totality, right? So you can create your own game using a game engine, and this, that, and the other, or you could just kind of make a mini game in Minecraft, right? I joke when I am in an argument with my friends that I play with, is they're like, oh, well, should we play Minecraft or Call of Duty or something? It's like, well, I mean, technically you could play Call of Duty in Minecraft, right? You can recreate it. Remember, one of my earliest builds was a block for block recreation of Keener der Toten, the Black Ops 1 Zombies map. And obviously it wasn't fully functional. There's a bunch of, if you're really a fundamentalist when it comes to Black Ops Zombies, it's nowhere close, because you're in the game of Minecraft. But the fact that you could still, to a certain extent, replicate any other game is a very freeing action. I'm not boxed in. There's not some update patch that's going to ruin it. And maybe if I was a PvP only player, like, this would be a different conversation. Like if I was prioritizing PvP or speedrunning or something, and they like screwed up the meta or something. But the fact that it's just a consistent, unchanging game, and the fact that there's periods where I've gone like a year without playing, and I jump right back in where I left off. There's not like, if I go a year without playing the newest Call of Duty, no one's even playing the game anymore. Like, it's a different game, right? And then even like the ones that are playing, they've added new guns, and I'm gonna get melted by some hacker because they, forget about security after like a year or two of these games, and then there's like 40 new guns that I have to learn and stuff. And granted, there's new updates to Minecraft. It's not like it's the same game it was 5 years ago. Absolutely not. But if they implemented an update that broke the game, in my mind, again, I don't know what that would be, but I have the option of just playing this version that I'm playing right now, or downloading a previous version, playing that. And it doesn't, how is it going to impact again, there's no online servers. It's going to run the same as it would. It's not like they can slow the old versions of the game down or clog up the lobbies with bots or something. It's like, you don't have any of that with this game. And to me, gives me there's less stakes and responsibility. I don't have to like keep up with this and that. I can pay attention to the updates or not. Like, it doesn't impact, well, obviously once it comes out, I got to figure out what the new updates are. But I could also just not do it. Like, it's not like I have to play the most updated version of the game. I don't. I'm not sure why I'm fixating on like the version thing, but I'm just saying it's such a big thing in other games where they have some update patch that some players hate it, some players love it. And like, it doesn't. That's not a requirement here. Like, they're only trying to supplement the game at its core. And since the game doesn't really have a single objective, it doesn't really matter, right? You can add a gajillion more blocks, and I could still play the game the same way. I just don't have to use new blocks. It's not gonna ruin my experience, really. You could also just play the creative version, which I know some people do. They just exclusively play creative. I feel like I did that in the very, very beginning when I had the pocket version on like a Samsung Galaxy. I'm not sure what the rest of the device was called, but it was essentially the poor man's version of the iPod Touch. and that was the first device I played Minecraft on. I remember in those days, God, it feels like such a long time ago. They didn't have a survival version, or the survival version they had, they gave you unlimited. There's no food bar at all. There was no chests, and they gave you an unlimited like set of tools. They gave you like iron tools that had unlimited durability, right? And the only things that were finite were like, blocks and torches and dirt and like mob drops. But there was only like zombies was the first one. They only had zombies, right? So really all you could do is just like essentially creative. You just had to go out and mine the 10 different blocks they had in the game, because they only had a couple blocks, and then zombies could theoretically kill you even though they were stupid. And you got a sword with unlimited thing. I'm not even sure if they had a bow and arrow back then when I played, but yeah, I'm not even sure why I got on that topic. But the game in its core, like the same reason I played the game then, to build little houses and kind of just be free in this little world where I was God and I could control it. I guess that's a weird way of thinking about it, but it's one way you could. It's still the same reason I play today. It hasn't changed, right? Whereas with other games it might have evolved, right? And it hasn't. I'm not gonna say it hasn't evolved at all. Like, there was a phase where I was like speedrunning, and speedrunning was something fun I would do. But that ultimately at its core it's the same game, which is rare to see in today's day and age. I think that's why it's been so popular. So that's part of it for me. So I think Minecraft is a big plus in my book, right? It's a brilliant piece of software. However you want to phrase it, but it's one thing I'm very grateful for and optimistic about, right? I'm not ready for them to ruin the game. Like, I'm not even planning on it. I think there's not, again, in my mind, what could you do to ruin it, right? I could always just download an old version and always have it local to my PC and run that. So if they ever ruined it or made you pay $1 every time you wanted to play or some stupid thing like that, you never know what decisions some people make. Some of them are so out of touch you'd think they're killing the game on purpose. Maybe they are, I don't know, but not Minecraft, at least to this point. Seems like they know not to mess with the core of the game, otherwise they're gonna lose everything. So yeah, very glad that Minecraft is still a thing. Anyway, the last thing I'm optimistic about before I let myself turn back to the inner cynic is I think if you take it away from the selfish idea of like wanting to be better than everyone and everything, people these days do some amazing things. It's impressive just to see what they do. And it's like, I gotta pick the right example here so it lands. But not something that you'd be like. I think anything with money or physical shape is a bad example, because that's tough. Like, cause I guess one piece is you could look at people that are in ridiculously good shape and just be like, wow, it's really impressive. But then there's always like this, oh, well, I need to be in that good of shape, otherwise, my family is going to disown me or something. Like, I don't know. There's always this toxic mode of thinking with it too. But even just think about something as stupid as like somebody being really good at playing the piano, right? Like, just marvel at how great this person is at the piano, right? And instead of like being jealous of their piano prowess, just enjoy the fact that somebody's that brilliant at piano, and because of modern technology, you can enjoy some piano savant, you know, drumming away at the keys. And that's pretty cool. Oh, this is perfect. Wow, what placement. That's awesome. I'm going to make this an opening. Let's kind of connect it a little bit, right? That's awesome. But yeah, if you take it away from it being a selfish thing, I think, you know, there's a lot of impressive things people are doing. And, you know, the internet allows you to just kind of marvel at them. And it's easier to get jealous, you know. Some dude made $80,000 in 2 hours stock option trading, and it's like, damn you, like, whatever. You know, instead of just being like, oh, I got, you know, it's pretty impressive, he got lucky. I think that's a bad example. It's not really impressive. It's just kind of, it truly is just kind of lucky. I mean, it's basically gambling, but I'm not going to get into the details of all that. But even, I think the piano is a fine example, right? Just be impressed that somebody is, you know, a piano. Be impressed that Rick turned himself into a pickle. Don't question it. Don't try to compete. You turn yourself into a zucchini or something, or an eggplant, and to prove that they're a superior vegetable or whatever. Just be impressed. You know, it's kind of nice that we live in an age where you can see that. I just think it's just hard for people to be impressed. They just always want to poke some hole in it. Well, it's actually not even that hard. Like, yeah, you know, or if I had a piano, if I was fortunate enough to have a piano in my house, I'd be better than you. Let's just, like, let somebody enjoy something they're good at and celebrate them. And, because, you know, especially the world today, the interconnected world with the internet is, in some ways, can be thought of just as a giant dick measuring contest. Everyone's just gonna, you know, compare, right? It's so easy, right? It's so easy just to compare yourself to everyone else in every conceivable way. Am I taller than the average? Am I more wealthy? Am I squatting more than the average person? Am I eating healthier than the average person? Am I better in any, you know what I mean? Like, there's an endless number of variables. Or the literal dick measuring, like, is my dick big? You know what I mean? You can take it to whatever extent you want, and ultimately what it is like, maybe you win at like something so ridiculously niche, right? You're like, I'm the best person at math in the state of New Jersey in my high school, like, you know what I mean, or whatever it is. You get really specific with it, and if that satisfies you, then great. But ultimately, it's such on a large scale, you're not going to be the best at really anything. It's better to just see it as that, right? And not even, you know, make it a contest, right? I think it's natural to make it a contest. I think being competitive is in our nature, but it does no good, literally no good at all to engage in the giant dick measuring contest that is the modern internet. So, you know, instead of being competitive, of course I'm guilty of this too, but just, you know, if someone's better than you or whatever it is, just be impressed, you know, as Rick said to Morty. I'm just thinking of that Pickle Rick episode where he's turned himself to a pickle, and then he's like, you know, do pickles live forever or something? Or is there like I just don't see why anyone, he's just like, just be impressed, Morty. You know, it's the same thought, you know, just be impressed, you know, somebody's better than you at something, or somebody is 7 feet tall, or is 6'5" with a 40-inch dick or something. Just, you know, don't be like, oh, well, I'm going to compare myself to this. Just, you know, be impressed. Like, wow, good for that guy, right? I don't, you know, whatever. I think it's another thing if they're like, you know, especially like, you're never going to see these people or like actually compete with any of them on any individual level, right? These are all, it's like the competition is very like, it's on a huge scale. So like, why would you, I don't see why you'd worry about, you know, people that were on a scale beyond anything you're ever going to actually compete with. Like, it's one thing if it's your coworker and you're trying to, you know, submit more pull requests or whatever line of work you're in or whatever it is. However you want to quantify the competition in that sense. Like, I can even see competing with people on a local realm, but the, you know, nationally competing for you know, internet points or, you know, however you want to quantify it is such a endless pursuit of nothing, right? It's like, even if you were to try to prove to everyone online that you're better at this, that, or the other, then, like, you know, congrats, you know. And ultimately, it just leads to a bunch of people just lying about stuff that they're the best at, or being fictitious on whatever they were able to accomplish for the brief period of external validation that they're the best at X, Y, or Z. But ultimately, like, they know, and the people with some investigative skills can verify that, you know, they're an idiot, or they were lying, or, you know, whatever. It's the equivalent of, like, oh, he's a self-made millionaire, but exposed, you know, his dad gave him a trust fund with $80 million. Like, oh man, now his public perception of being this ultimate bootstrapper is now tainted because he started with money. And, you know, I guess that's just a weird hyper-specific example my head went to. But there's always a competition, like, who can, you know, who had the highest parent-to-child income ratio, like, you know, because I was thinking about that for a while. It's like, okay, well, how would you quantify somebody who came from the dirt and, like, is now uber wealthy? Right now, we're just gonna talk about financial wealth here only because that's the easiest way to quantify things, and that's the easiest dick measuring ruler there is out there. Is the Like, it is, right? What's the easiest way to measure your dick against someone else's? Metaphorical dick. Is just, oh, what's your bank account, bro? And so it makes sense. But even if we're going to do that, like, it doesn't make sense to measure wealth, like, wealth to wealth. Like, that's not, in a lot of extent, that's not fair, right? There's too many other variables to account for, you know? Right, so it's like, okay, your dad made $1 gajillion and then gave you all of it, you know, or even if he didn't directly give you the money, what if he, you know, gave you a job at some huge hedge fund, and then all of a sudden you made a bunch of money that way, and then, you know, whatever, like, you know, there's too many other variables to account for, so it's like you don't really know what to credit, right? To what extent do you credit their actual ingenuity and ability to make money or solve problems or whatever it is however that comes. Again, it becomes such a convoluted math question that to me it renders it almost impossible to even compare that level of wealth. I guess the one metric I thought would be an interesting thing to look at would be like the parent to child income ratio. Would be a better way of quantifying how, you know, from the mud somebody came from. You know, but I think that would be a strong preference on, like, professional athletes, you know. Like, Jimmy Butler's mom was, like, homeless or something, so she was making, you know, making $10,000. Now Jimmy Butler's making like $1 gajillion, right? That ratio is huge. Maybe it's not even the ratio, or it's like, you can make it subtractive, but because then, like, it would compound, so you'd have to be making 10 times more money than Jimmy Butler if your parents are making 10 times his parents' money, right? Anyway, it's this all kind of a stupid hypothetical. I'm not even sure why I'm talking about this. It's truly, truly meaningless. Yeah, truly meaningless. I guess I have other topics, but I want to spend a lot of time on those. Something I can talk about for a few minutes is, and I think that I touched on this in another video, but I kind of want to cover in some more detail. You know, is the American dream, again, I'm getting to my cynical part here, so buckle up. Is the is the American dream in the traditional sense, is it dead? Like, have we killed it, right? Or is it alive, right? I guess to some extent, you know, obviously if you ask anyone involved in any kind of hustle culture or wake up and get that bread or entrepreneurship really as a whole, you'd say, oh, no, it's very much alive. And that's what I would say, but there's also a fair assessment is that it's not, and only because of this is the American dream, by definition, is that the average American, through working hard and through their own means, can become prosperous, right? Whatever that may mean. And I think because the definition of prosperity has ballooned into this Kardashian level of fame and wealth, like reaching the level of prosperity is a lot harder. So that's one part. The second part is the average part, right? So it's like, whoa, well, I was broke and then I, made a bunch of money. It's like, okay, well, just because you're broke didn't mean you fall into the average category. It's like, okay, yeah, I was broke, but I'm 8 feet tall. My name's Shaq. Like, okay, so that's not really, you were kind of given the advantage of being superb in some way, or the unicorn that allowed you to be that economically mobile. So that's not really fair, right? Not your average guy isn't 8 feet tall and, electric at basketball. So that's not really fair. So it's then like, okay, we have to exclude intelligence, right? So it's like, oh, well, I was just your average guy, but then once I got my PhD in applied mathematics, I was making $1 million. Like, okay, well, that's, again, we can't, the American dream was supposed to apply to your average American through working hard and maybe being, a little smarter on something in particular, right? Not having this genius level intelligence on something that you could monetize to the nth degree and then, make all your money, right? Or, and then also, like, you have to include kind of the instances of just dumb luck, like, right? Like, oh, well, I was average and then I, Kim Kardashian accidentally spit on me and then now I'm a bajillionaire because I sued her. American dream's alive. It's like, well, okay, that, how is your average person supposed to accomplish that, right? You're just, that's kind of lucky. You can't really, that's not like a predetermined thing. That wasn't out of your own hard work or, ingenuity. So I think the American dream, I want to believe it's alive. I think saying that, proclaiming that it's dead is the equivalent of Nietzsche's prediction that God is dead and we killed it, right? And I think some people are quick to pronounce the same. The American dream is dead and we killed it. But I'm not that quick to believe in that. Do I think is much less attainable than during the gold rush? Probably, yeah. It's like I'm not gonna sugarcoat it there, but ultimately I don't want to proclaim that it's dead. So I just think it's more complex than that. But there are there are a number of very valid reasons to believe it's dead, only because of the where we are at politically and economically, especially because American dream mainly refers to the economic prosperity, although I would be tempted to rope in social prosperity in that as well, and that because there's kind of a threshold limit on your internal prosperity in terms of your well-being, it's contingent upon your social well-being as too, right? And since that has become a lot more of an issue in this technology era, that we have to account for that in terms when we're talking about prosperity as well. We can't disregard the social impact of the modern era. So certainly a lot of arrows that can point in either direction. Again, I'm not point of this isn't to arrive at a conclusion, but I think it's an interesting. There's interesting arguments both ways. So I guess I vote yes. I vote it's harder. Absolutely. I think it's not. Maybe it's accessible to your slightly above average American. But is it, accessible to your average American who maybe much less so? And again, I don't think it's as black and white. It's not. Your above average American will achieve the American dream and your below average won't. I think it's just it's a matter of percentages, right? So the farther you're away from these average metrics, again, which is an impossible thing to quantify, the more likely it is that you have a higher shot at achieving such thing. So, if you're 7 feet tall and you're pretty good at basketball, but you're not Shaq level, you might have a higher chance at achieving the American dream if you're than a averaged, roundabout average guy in just about everything who's average at math, average at this, average at that, who's not going to be this genius applied mathematician or something, and be able to monetize that, then yeah. And again, I'm using really weird examples, crude examples. I think you can obviously extrapolate these to more generic settings that make more sense for you, but for me, those were just the areas that my head went. I don't know. I think it. You don't really want to give up on something like that idea of the American dream, especially with the prevalence of hustle culture, being even more, like we're kind of pressing on the gas even more, and people are pressing and drop shipping, for God's sakes. Like, is there a better visualization of somebody just being absolutely desperate to make a bunch of money than to start a drop shipping company? Like, what could possibly be more of a testament to people just trying to squeeze every last bit out of their belief in the American dream? Because it's just such a scammy business model, right? I just don't. I obviously I see the appeal, right? And it's lucrative in the sense that you could certainly make it successful, assuming your advertising's fine. But it's just like you're literally you're not producing any value, and to me that's the crux of what any kind of real business should be about. Is that, are you adding value to whatever you're doing, right? And so, I think it's easy to focus on bottom line numbers and, my company made a bunch of money, but are you adding value to society in any way, and in some way, right? With a drop shipping company, with at least traditional ones, maybe through some other modified model that I'm not aware of, you're not adding any value. You're literally just increasing the value of an existing good and then using better marketing to just sell the thing at an upcharge, and you're just a middleman. So you're quite easy. There's not a better example of not producing value, is there? Aside from just raw scamming people, right? Just cold calling them and pretending to be a Windows technician, and that their grandson's excessive consumption of internet porn has ruined their Wi-Fi or something, which it truly is a scam, and that truly no one disagrees that doesn't provide any value. But to me, a dropshipping company is just one step above that, right? So I don't know. Maybe I have a overly negative view of dropshipping as a hustle, but to me, you're not adding any value. If you're driving for Uber, you're obviously kind of getting scammed because they're not paying you shit. But you're helping someone get to a location, right? You're at least providing a service that is valuable. Now, the value of that is being exploited by another company, so it's not like you're going to make a gajillion dollars driving for Uber. Like, that doesn't, unless you had an unlimited amount of time, which you don't. But you're still providing value, right? You're still delivering the pizza to somebody or door dashing it, whatever the hustle is. You're adding value, but drop shipping, you're not. Scamming, you're not. You're just taking money away from other people. And like, yeah, am I supposed to respect your ability to convince an old person that there's a Trojan horse on their computer and that they have to buy your software package to fix it? No, because they're stupid and gullible, and most people are stupid. And just because you're smart enough to scam a stupid person, to me that doesn't make you that smart. It makes you, I guess you're smart-ish in the sense that you're smart enough to take advantage of something, but you're not adding any value to anything. And I'd rather die absolutely broke and homeless before having to resort to adding zero value. That's just my personal opinion. And because this isn't, this is my expression, that my personal opinion is allowed. So if you disagree with that, I would be interested to hear your opinion, but I do in fact disagree. So yeah, I don't know. That's just my thoughts on a very specific thing that is, again, another negative thing. Here I am, Mr. Nancy. What is it? Negative Nancy? Is that what the word is? But yeah. Well, anyway, I don't really want to open up any new topics because all the ones I have on my little tech sheet are quite long. Actually, I guess I do have one little last one. I've been seeing an uptick in these. So I'm on LinkedIn for professional reasons. You get, I'm not going to justify it that much, but basically I'm on LinkedIn. Okay. But, I've noticed these people that essentially what I've called them are these, are just roundabout fuck yous. So they're basically holding up a giant middle finger saying like, I told you so, or fuck this company or something. And just this roundabout, like, pseudo professional way that's supposed to make them, feel better about, them calling somebody out or some shit like that. And I don't really have anything else to say on that other than it's just fucking stupid. I don't, that's pretty much it. I mean, I truly, I don't really have anything else to say. I just noticed that there's, people like, oh, I had a good example of this. I don't remember what it was. I don't know. Damn it. Well, now that I forgot, this doesn't really land. Wow, this is frustrating. I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get out of this without ruining the integrity of my build here. But anyway, there's that. I'm not even going to go into detail. Maybe I'll go into detail next time. But yeah, that didn't work. But yeah, I'm just going to call it there. So hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think of drop shippers. I think they're pieces of shit. But if you're a drop shipper and want to come on live, I will actually have you next on my next episode. If you have a legitimate drop shipping company and you're going to allow me to shit on you creatively and philosophically, then please comment below and I'll call you on Discord. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy. Peace.